Welcome to the Made in the Mist podcast, a podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. Now, please welcome your hosts, Emma and Dan.
Welcome to the Made in the Mist podcast, a podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. I'm here at the Money Mint podcast studio at the Niagara Falls Innovation Hub in Niagara Falls, Canada. I'm here joined by my co-host, Emma.
Hello, everybody.
And today we are really excited because we have somebody that we've been trying to get on this podcast for a very long time.
Finally, I'm here.
Yeah, and finally you are here. You know, arguably Niagara's most successful businessman, billionaire, philanthropist, entrepreneur, everything in between, John Macbaine. So happy to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And for those who may not know who John Macbaine is, you can see his name plastered all over the city with the Macbaine Center and all the philanthropy work you've done here in the Niagara region. I mean, you've basically had your hands involved in everything and really making the city and region grow. So I know that all of us here appreciate that. But the really interesting thing is how John Macbaine came to be. And I know that you were, you know, just like everybody in the Made in the Mist podcast, you were born in the city here.
The old hospital before the current hospital. And
before the one we were
before right the now, one before now, yes.
Oh, wow.
The old house, one of the last births in the old hospital.
Okay.
It's a snowy day in February 13th, 1958.
Wow, and where was the day before Valentine's Day, right?
Yeah,
so
day before Valentine's Day.
Quite a treat you were.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And again, born and raised in Niagara Falls, went to school at Orchard Park.
Yeah, Orchard Park, then Prince Philip, and then on to Aylmer.
And then he argues that Aylmer is the best high school. You know, and that's
I think that's pretty clear. I don't think we need to discuss that. You know,
you had some rivals you can share with us. Yeah, Stanford and yeah.
But you again, you know. Business. You started a business. You said you started your first business actually here in Niagara Falls, and you have a story to share about your first
inadvertently.
Business.
Yes,
inadvertently. So the whole goal today is to learn about you. We'll talk about that story, but then also how you got to where you are today. I know Trader Classified Media was a big part of it too. You go to school in McGill and acquiring businesses there too. So from the start, born and raised in Niagara Falls, you have your first job. Was it for the city of Niagara Falls that you were working for?
Well, I thought so. I thought so. What happened was actually I always thought that the best thing to have, to go to university to make some extra money by being a swimming teacher. So February 13th, I turned 16. I think 17. I had to be 17 for swimming instructor, and I immediately took the March course to be a swimming instructor. And then April, I was accepted as a teacher at the city of Niagara Falls. Life looked pretty good. And then I won the Spanish contest, so I had to go out to Ottawa for a week. And so I phoned them up, said, look, there's 5 other people didn't get a job, but take one of those for 1 week and I'll work the other 7 weeks. And they said, no, you're fired. So my first job I was fired from before even starting, which is really bad.
Just all or nothing.
All or nothing.
Yeah.
So I said, gee, what am I going to do for this summer? Because my whole dream had gone away. So what I did was I went around and talked to pool owners and said, look, I'll teach your kids for free if you let me, have others, when you're at work, have other kids in the neighborhood come in and take lessons with you, which people accepted. I got a insurance policy for liability in Lloyd's of London, so we signed an agreement saying if anything happened to your pool, it's my fault. If it's my fault, it's insured. Wow. And then basically did that, and I at that time, The Love Bug was the movie out, and so I went around, I rented a truck, and because it was very dark, it was a deep truck, the kids would come in, look at The Love Bug, and then parents come by, and we gave them so we went all around the neighborhoods next to the pools, and hired, the parents, where's my kids? And I gave them a pamphlet, and then we had a little testimony. It's called The Swim School. Okay. It was a whale of an idea.
Wow. Very cool.
Had, sort of went out after the art shop, so that worked really well. And
keep the dad jokes.
So that worked really well, and I did that for several summers, probably 5 summers, and that paid my way through University at McGill.
And you went out with the splash.
Exactly.
Thank you.
No. So that's great, and you mean, and
it was like a wet lab.
Yeah. Jeez.
I'll get in eventually, I promise.
Well, you probably just jump in. So dip your toe.
That would make a splash.
Sorry. So then, one thing you told us about is that you started handing out pamphlets, and then that kind of sparked because you were marketing director for an organization,
Power Corporation in Montreal.
Yeah. So where did that start? So you got fired. You started using the pools. That's the beginning signs of you being an entrepreneur. Is getting your own business going. From that point,
so I probably knew then that I'd probably end up having my own business. So even though I started with a company, I sort of had my eyes always looking at doing something.
And none of your family ever owned their own business? You were the first one?
No, I was the first one.
Okay, and then, straight A student at Aylmer?
Yeah, pretty well. Yeah, pretty good student.
Good. And then you went, say, I'm going to go to McGill.
Right. I decided to go to McGill, which was unpopular at the time as a Parti Québécois had just been elected.
Okay, well.
So I went to McGill and really enjoyed McGill. Because I'm good at running things. So I ran Welcome Week, and then I ran Winter Carnival.
Oh, wow.
And then one of the guys said, "Oh, gee, you're really good at running things. Would you run the university?" So I was a student council president. And when I was chosen, about 2 weeks later, they chose the new Principal McGill, who was David Johnson, who eventually became a good friend, but also became Governor General of Canada.
Wow.
So I was at McGill, and then I was fortunate enough to win a scholarship. I won the Rhodes Scholarship to go to Oxford, study law at Oxford. They didn't have a business program at the time. And then I went to Harvard Business School 2 years, did an MBA, and then came to Montreal.
Did you like law?
My dad was very, very open-minded and extremely, and he only gave me one piece of advice in his life, says, don't become a lawyer.
Yeah.
Really?
So I listened to him, so I was tempted. I said, look, I can't study business at Oxford, but I decided to study law, but only it was a 2-year program. I have to do another year if I wanted to become a lawyer. So I promised never to do that year. But I did learn a lot. I did learn a lot in that.
I guess law school kind of set the bar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a terrible joke.
But put you on another path, maybe, then,
exactly.
right?
So then you went to business school at Harvard, graduated MBA, and then what happened then?
So then I sort of said, look, I want to be an entrepreneur. Maybe it's worth learning a little bit about. So I read, I think it was called The Canadian Establishment by, was it Newman, I guess, or wrote that. And it talked about all these entrepreneurs. I said, gee, there's an entrepreneur in Montreal, Paul Desmarais. So in my last year of business school, I said, look, I'll do an independent project for you. So I did a project for them on the new financial services supermarket that people are talking about, cross-selling insurance and other things. Did the project. And I'd accepted, actually, the Niagara Falls Award to be a Rotary Fellow to study French language and literature at La Sorbonne. And instead of doing that, my boss came and said, look, why don't, you've done enough university, why don't you come work for us? So I decided to work at Power Corporation. I worked there 3 years.
Okay. But
I was always sort of looking to do something of my own. And that was sort of 84 to 87. In 1987, I kept flying to Toronto and seeing this Auto Trader. And I looked at it and said, gee, if you unfolded the Auto Trader, actually smaller than the amount of paper is smaller than the Toronto Star, but you don't have 50% of the 50% is not ads.
Yeah.
That 50% you have to pay people to write articles. Whereas this one's selling at 3 times the price of the Toronto Star for less paper and it's 100% ads. So I thought, gee, the Auto Trader is a good business. And I learned about the one in Montreal being for sale. So I talked to the person, they had an advisor, accountant, and he phoned the guy. And the guy was actually happened to be walking through the kitchen at the fishing camp where the printer was trying to buy him. And he picked up the phone and he said, yeah, that sounds interesting. I'd love to talk to the guy. So he left there, came to Montreal and met me, and then we right away signed an agreement. And I had 14 days to buy the business.
And you bought the business.
And I bought the business in 13 days,
Wow.
yeah.
And I noticed that, so in front of me, what you see there says 65 lessons, I guess, if you learned in the last year. One of them that I read there is buy a business, don't start a business. Grow a business, not start.
It's an option. Yeah, you can start businesses too, but I guess the joke is that I'd rather buy a business at 10 and take it to 1,000.
Yes.
So there's people that are really good at taking a business from 0 to 10.
Yes.
But with the skills we have, and especially having big education, a lot of education, you're probably not as good as 0 to 10, or you're equally good, but you've got probably more talent from 10 to 1,000. So buying something at the 10 level, like Auto Hebdo Montreal, is 3 papers. We ended up with like 300 papers and globally around the world. So we brought it to 1,000, and as I said, after the Yellow Page buy it, they would take it back down to 10. So
I want to get into that. So you bought Auto Trader,
right? 3 papers in Montreal: the Auto Hebdo, the Auto Trader paper, Camion Hebdo, the Truck Trader paper, and Achavant, the buy and sell paper.
Can you disclose how much you paid for it?
4.8 million. Yeah.
No way.
4.8 million Canadian.
Okay.
And it's interesting, the story. I'll tell you the exact financing structure.
Yeah, like how did that work?
So I didn't have 4.8.
I was gonna say you.
So I had
14 days. You said.
I had 14 days. So the full story is as follows. So Elio Vitezzi, who was the seller, we set the price at 4.8 million, which was 6 times the 800,000 sort of pre-tax cash flow we had. And so I said, okay. And there was about 200,000 of legal and accounting fees. And our financier asked for a 200,000 fee. So we found this guy. I put in 200,000.
Wow.
So my money in the business went out the first second, right? Because the guy took it as a financing fee. All gone. So my actual equity in the business was 0. Wow. So there's 5.2 million. I put in 200,000. And the financier put in 5 million as a loan. But they got 27.5%, but I got 72.5% of the business. But they had only a penny in equity in, or a dollar. And I had 200,000 for my 72.5%. And so what's interesting about that story, and why I mentioned coming back to what you said earlier about why not starting a business, is because these businesses had cash flow, I could use debt and other things. I wouldn't have to always dilute down. So, you know, you
Sure.
see all these people are diluting down to small amounts. So it's not just, for you as an owner, it's not just, you know, the percentage, it's not just how big the business is, it's the percentage you own, right? So yes, if you had a $1 billion business, you own 10%, it's worth $100 million. If you have a, you know, $500 million business, you own 100%, that's $500 million. So what I did was, when we had 72.5%, we really tried to keep that, and we worked really hard. So there's very few people you meet who on day one started with 72.5% of the company, and 19 years later, up and down, I sold the business with 72.5% of the company.
Oh, wow.
So that allowed us to accumulate a lot of wealth, and which we're now, and I'll talk about the process of giving away. But so what happened was we bought it for that amount. My equity was gone in a second. And then I realized 2 years that this is a fantastic business. I just realized it was, and I still haven't seen a better business for its time.
Yeah, of course.
You know, times change and probably not the best business today. But at the time, it was a fantastic business. And I sat down with my partner. I said, look, you know, this is a great business. I did a presentation. He said, buy me out. I said, what? I said, come on. I said, look, I redid the presentation. He said, no, buy me out. I said, well, okay. And he said, look, talk to some people. And so we ended up buying this partner out. The Toronto Star came in, called Torstar. Oh, wow. They became our partner.
Wow.
And so they valued the business at $40 million. So my 50%, I had 50%, I was 72.5, went down to 50, was worth $20 million. I put in $200,000. So we made 100 times our money in the first 2 years.
Wow.
Right. So that's, and with no new money. And, but that poor partner who, you know, sold out.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't want him to sell out, but he decided. Turns out that firm went bankrupt 3 months later.
Oh, wow.
Now, if they just held their 27.5%, it probably was $700 million. So but instead, they got like $5 million.
So I'm just, you know, I love the story, and I'm just trying to put together the puzzle pieces. So how do you say, okay, you were a marketing director at the Power Corporation, right? And you did a project, and you said, you know, I want to buy this business. How did you convince somebody to say, listen, trust me, I'm going to grow this business. Just give me your money.
Well, the person that actually gave us the money, I walked in and they said, you know, the last Rhodes Scholar we financed went bankrupt. Yeah. And that was the first thing he said to me. So maybe feel a little bad. But I think I understood the business. Some of the banks who went to said, oh, you know, you don't have a printing plant. I said, look, you don't want a printing plant in this business. Yeah. The business is much better. You can get 100 printers out there we could use.
Yeah, exactly.
So this person, to their credit, understood that, understood it was a good cash flow business, and they backed us. And, you know, I'm grateful that they backed us, and it was a good bet for them too. They made money on that.
I mean, you were all in too. You put in all your money.
I had 100% of my money.
You were like, I'm risking everything.
The other, much more than that, because the other little thing is, which I did then, he also asked my personal signature on the $5 million debt.
I see.
So I was worth $210,000. Yeah. $200,000 was gone. I had $10,000 in my bank, maybe $5,000. And I also had a debt of $5 million, right? Sorry, $4.8 million, right? I had, no, $5 million, because you have a $5 million loan, pay the $200,000 fees. Wow. So I had a personal debt of, signature of $5 million. And it's interesting, it took me like 7 years to get that personal signature off.
Really? Eh?
So unlike a lot of entrepreneurs say, well, I've got all in, I put all my money in. Yeah, I put all my money in, but I also signed for $5 million.
And then some.
Which could have bankrupt. So I was all in. I had no choice. I would go bankrupt if we, didn't work. So I mean, concentrated my mind.
It goes to show the confidence that you had in yourself running a business.
No, right? It was more the confidence. I mean, when a good business meets a good company, the good company wins. So a good manager meets a good company, the good company wins. So I think that I realized it was a good company, and I guess I thought, I'm worth $205,000. $200,000 came, by the way, from the stock off from that company. I didn't have any money.
Yeah.
So the company shares doubled during those 2 years I worked there. Sorry, 3 years from 84 to 87. And so I was able to cash in that stock thing and put in the $200,000.
Wow.
So I said, look, I'm worth maybe a few $1,000s. I'll sign for $5 million. It's irrelevant. I'm not going to, but I would have gone bankrupt, unfortunately. I took that risk.
You saw the vision. You saw where it could go. And so when it did get to there, and then bring us to when, because after that, what did you do after that when you did grow the business, and what kind of came next?
So what happened is we realized it was a great business. The other partner left, and we told the board of Torstar that, we think in 5-7 years we'll own most of Canada, maybe in 2 or 3. We won't own, but we'll own most of it. And what happened is in the next sort of 12 to 18 months, we owned all of Canada except for Toronto. We never did buy Toronto. And then I was looking at another business, and I met a guy from whose friend was from Paris. And I met him. I said, look, is there one of these businesses in Paris? And he said, let me look. I think there is. And so we learned that there was a company called Les Senteurs des Particuliers, which is a fantastic paper selling cars where the people guarantee their used car. And they had an insurance system for guaranteeing the used cars. So it's very high quality ads. So we ended up buying that, and then I realized that that grade 1 is the year for students in Paris. It's called CP, Cours Préparatoire, and it's the most important year of French life. So I said, look, I've had a daughter in she was just going to go into kindergarten. So we have to move to Paris now. So we moved to Paris so she can do kindergarten, and then could go to CP grade 1 and succeed. And so we moved to Paris with that business. So we had business then in Canada. Paris was equal size to all of Canada. It was a very big paper.
Yes.
And moved to Paris in September 1992, actually.
Took it global.
Wow. And then from the Paris base, we looked around the world and we bought a few things in the United States, small auto traders that were available, but other person was consolidating. So we looked around the world. And then from there, we went and bought basically 23 or 20 other countries. We were the leading...
Over like a quick, was it very quick?
Yeah, 17, I mean, I guess we bought, over 10, 12 years, we bought most of them.
Wow.
So we had Canada, was our largest business by revenue, second largest by profitability. So in order of profitability, was actually Russia was number 1.
Wow.
We're the largest publisher in Russia. We have 2.7 million copies a day.
And it was just auto or any?
It was everything.
Everything. Okay.
And basically in a communist society, you can change from capitalism to communism very quickly, but you can't change your storefront. So there's no store windows, etc. People would take little ads, and they'd write, I'm selling my washing machine, or I've got 15 washing machines for sale. They stick it up at the pharmacy, the bus stop, the subway stop, and izruki vruki, which means from hand to hand, would take down those ads, classify them by washing machines, trucks, for free for individuals.
Okay.
And then, of course, because it became a marketplace, all the commercial guys wanted to put their ads in, and we sold the paper. And that was a fantastic business. We owned it from 1996 and sold it when we sold the business in 2006, luckily.
Was it always today. Print or did you digital?
We had eventually websites all over, about 300 websites as well.
Wow.
But originally it was print.
Well, what was that like, taking it digital? Like, because that's revolutionary.
It was revolutionary.
Yeah.
It was a local business, so that, I mean, it's... I think, at the time, even some of the larger sites weren't local enough. People, they want to see the car in a used car. They want to see the used washing machine. So they want to also transport to their home. So it was a very local business. So we were the dominant local player. So we realized that the economies of scale in the market were important to have most of the ads in that local area. So we were the dominant player in Edmonton in trucks and most goods in there. We were big in Australia. So our biggest business, I guess, in order were Russia, Canada, Australia, and then France, Spain. We were in Argentina with Segunda Mano. We were in Mexico City with Segunda Mano. We had Guia Clasificados in Bogota. We had a paper in Caracas, Venezuela. We had paper in Cali, Medellin.
Wow. So what's your favorite country? Personal. What was your favorite country to?
I mean, given situation today, I think I love Paris. I love France. We love Spain. Australia. We've got some business continuing in Australia today.
Wow.
But love Australia. So, a lot of those countries, we learned and got to know the countries as we had business.
Perfect. And then, so, you're one of or if the first guest to ever go public with the company too, right?
Yep. Public with their company.
So how did that work? And when did you know that you were ready to go public? And then, was nerves attached with it? Was excitement? And then you pulled out right at the right time too, right?
We were the last person in the world during the 2000.com boom to go public.
Yes.
We went public actually because we're in the Euronext in Paris and the NASDAQ stock exchange at the same time. Mm-hmm. So it took an extra day. So we signed up and got the pricing at 30 euros a share on Wednesday night. The thing started going down on Thursday and then Friday. So the first trade was 23, and I think we ended the first day at like 19. So,
jeez.
So we got all our money in So it was a tough thing. I still ran as a public. We got our 400 million euros in at 30 euros. So it was a very good thing for us. But for the investors, it was tough because they obviously bought at the high. We called it trader.com at the time.
Yes.
And later changed it to Clear Classified Media when we were so much paper-based. And then we realized that, and I guess, after we went public, and I still ran as a private business, I still owned, at that time, I owned like 51% of it. But I came to realize that, there's a new world out there of internet. We have our internet sites, we're good. But I think that even though as we grow, people still look at newspaper multiples, the multiple profits they're selling for is going down. People would view us more as print. So we said, maybe we should look at selling. So we sold Australia in 2004 to the Yellow Pages in Australia, actually.
Oh, wow.
And then in 2006, we negotiated for 7 months with Rupert Murdoch. I personally negotiated with him.
Oh, wow.
To buy the whole business. In the end, he said no, and we sold it by parts. So we sold the Canadian operation, the Yellow Pages in Canada. We sold we're the largest real estate published advertiser in the world through SoFun in China. We sold that to the Yellow Pages in China. Sorry, in Australia, bought our participation there. And then we sold Schibsted in Europe, bought it, and we sold our Russian and Central European operation to the public markets. And a public company. So we sold everything, all for cash, and in 2006, and that's when we sort of made the shift to become philanthropists.
Yeah, and I mean, such different sectors and different worlds of philanthropy and running a business. When you made that shift, how'd you feel? Because now you're giving a lot, right? And you're giving a lot to community. It must feel obviously very special. I know, like a lot of organizations here. Can I talk about your donation to obviously the McBain Center, Niagara College was just announced last week at the gala. Some other ones that are up and coming too.
Hospital,
hospital. Yeah, I didn't know if that was that was public knowledge.
That's public knowledge,
yeah, hospital. Yeah, too. So you shifted. You achieved the ultimate goal. You acquired a business, grew it to hundreds of $millions of dollars, sold it, and now you become a philanthropist. And it's quite fantastic that you've done full circle. Somebody come from Niagara Falls, right? So
amazing.
This philanthropy journey that you're going in right now, you guys have done over 400 million. Was it? I read.
We're almost 500 million donations. So we've decided to. So the foundation started in 2007. Mm-hmm. I do two things actually. Most of my time is still spent on businesses. So we're trying to get businesses related to philanthropy that are good for students. So 2/3 of our donations are scholarships to students.
Okay.
We have a scholarship in Niagara Falls, my wife's hometown, Huron County. We have a big scholarship at McGill. We have a scholarship, obviously the road scholarships, the Mandela Roads. I'm actually on the Mandela Roads board of Cape Town. Wow. So we do scholarship. We have the leading scholarship in New Zealand. We have, dozens and dozens of scholarships around the world. So that's our first thing we give to. Second thing is climate change. I started with other co-founders, and I was the first chair of the European Climate Foundation to work on climate change. And then thirdly, we do work in youth mental health. That's where the donation for the Niagara College came, for example.
Fantastic.
We actually put an RFP out for all. We did 4 universities for mental health programs. Then we asked, what are the innovative mental health programs, if we could fund it, and we got another 10 universities and 9 years, 1 college to do that. So, so the shift was that. So what we did is we had to have an investment portfolio. So we have an investment portfolio of stocks and bonds and all that. But I also run private equity where we own. We're the largest manager of student housing in Australia. We have 42,000 beds in Australia and New Zealand. Wow. We're one of the largest owners of student housing there with pension funds, and we're thinking of bringing student housing to Canada. Actually, it was my next big thing.
Well, it's certainly needed.
It's certainly needed, right?
Especially the recent announcement of the federal government.
You never take any days off, John? Because I was gonna say you jumped 2007. You never took any down. Like you just
we didn't take any downtime. No, I got a lot of energy. So when people ask me, John, do you want a coffee? I said, think about it. So my life is spent today doing 2 things. Working on the business side, we've got 3 major business lines now. We got student housing in Australia, hopefully moving that to Canada as well. Secondly, we really believe in we've got a business. We own one of the owners of the Sugarloaf, famous James Bond movie, Conla in Rio de Janeiro. So we like that business. And then we got some business, smaller business in the sports area. We own a Tour de France biking team called Willie Bikes, and we also map the clothing company, and we own one small company called Moonlight to make some skis and headlamps for us cross country.
Wow!
For ski touring.
Tour de France is unbelievable. I watch it all summer. My dad's a big fan, so we sit down and watch it. But yeah, I know it's fantastic. Now, oftentimes entrepreneurs want to know, what was your secret to success? What was the one thing that made you the person that you are today? If there's any philosophies that you can share. I know you have 65 of them right in front of you. Yeah. But just the nitty gritty. How does somebody become as successful as you? And obviously, it takes the energy, and it takes the charisma. The energy for it. But
no, I think, you never know, right? Luck has got to be there. You can't luck, if things have gone bad. Luck's important. I think you have to recognize that. But of course, the harder you work, the more lucky you get, right? Because you fail so much. I think, failing different things, different ideas, and jumping back from that's really important. The bad news is that, and I know from Road Scholarships, know a lot of really bright people. And if you want to be successful, you still have to work hard, even if you're really bright. So working hard, unfortunately, I'm still working very hard, is sort of unfortunately the bad news. You can't just it all comes.
We said 17
together.
Universities in 10 days, was it?
So we did 14 universities in 3 days.
Oh, geez.
Wow. But so I think having a lot of energy, hard work, focusing. I think it's very important to focus. We try to. Some people are all over the place. We're very focused on. So when Trader Classified Media, we were one small area, classified advertising only. And we did that everywhere, as opposed to people want to diversify. So, when we sold, everybody said, you should buy. I was offered, I want to buy Toronto Star and all that. Toronto Star went from a $2 billion company when they were our partners down to a $70 million company today they were bought.
Wow.
So, but we stuck to our knitting. And so, when we were in, for example, Russia, we had 2,500 employees. We were in 80 cities, but we, had no political links, never had one journalist, just kept to our business. So we tend to, I think, focusing on becoming an expert, even if you're not that bright, after 10 years, you sort of get it, right? This 10,000 hour thing. So we really learned our business. I think focusing on that was really important for us. And hiring good people, but also, being good to people. We've got, if you look at my team today, our top 5 people, my CFO's been with for 26 years.
Oh, wow.
My head of acquisition, 25 years. The partner I met that day in Montreal, who's the Paris one, is godfather of a child and still doing things with us.
Wow.
40 years. My head of my family office, I met I met him in November 1980 at Oxford. So it's been 40-something years. So I think we're pretty loyal and get a loyal team around us. And
how big is the foundation? How many employees are there?
So the foundation is actually, it's a Swiss foundation, and the operations run out of Toronto now.
Okay, wow.
And then we've got some employees obviously through the McCall MacBain Scholarship. McGill was an operating foundation.
Okay.
So we'd have a little more, about 18 people, I guess, total between the two right now.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Amazing. So, how do people really connect with the foundation too? Is there like websites or like how do people get involved?
Yeah, like our business, we try to go to the people as opposed to them coming to us.
Yeah, that's the way.
So you want to buy a thing when the person doesn't want to sell. You want to find the ideas. So that's like Niagara College. We went to them. Or we went to a bunch of universities and colleges saying, look, what do you have on mental health? And we saw the innovative programs. We'll fund those. So we tend to go out. We went to the University of Auckland, said, gee, there's no leading scholarship in New Zealand, so we created that scholarship.
Wow.
And it's a 2-year program. At the end of the 2 years, one of the women won the Rhodes Scholarship. Our second cohort, which is the end of the 3rd year, that's a 2-year program. The other person won, the first Pacifica woman ever to win a Rhodes Scholarship. And the 3rd year, we had a Gates Scholar, and I was fortunate enough to, I'm a member of the Giving Pledge, so run by Bill and Melinda Gates and Warren Buffett, and I was sitting there with Melinda Gates, and I showed her a picture on the front of their magazine showing that was our scholler from New Zealand. Who won a Gates Scholar. Small world,
Well, I mean, I would love to look at your phone Rolodex and see all the people that you probably have on there. But, did you ever envision yourself, as an AMI or graduate saying, one day I'm going to be, we'll call it what it is. You're going to be a billionaire philanthropist. You're going to succeed. You're going to grow a business, and now you're going to give to people. And like in some sense, philanthropy. You're giving. You're not seeing a return on investment. I mean, not dollar wise.
No,
right? But just obviously touching the lives of people and different faculties and different organizations. So, did you ever envision yourself? Did you already have that in your head?
No. I mean, it goes day to day, right? So you start realizing. So once you look back, I think we really focused on that strategy. Look, we're really good at classified assets. When I made that, I kept looking at the Toronto one and saw the paper and I saw, unfolded it. So that's a really good business. So that was the first insight, I think. And so went in there and went all in, as you know, the
cash,
$5 million.
Yeah,
I didn't have any cash, but the signature, it's a personal signature. So I was all in on that. I think that was the first insight. The second was when I realized that this is a really good business, and I brought it across Canada. And then the third one was when the guy in Toronto wouldn't sell. And I talked to the guy in Paris, and they had one. So we said, this is a global business. So by going and moving to Paris, we really made it global. Moved to Paris, and then I live in Geneva now. But we made it a global business. So we realized this one little sector. And so we weren't diversified. I think that's, the joke was when I lived in Paris, there was 2 apartments on each floor. And I said, I know better the value of a business in my business in Santiago, Chile, than I know the value of the apartment next to me. So I think it was really more focused on the industry and the business than zeroing in, as opposed to your locality. So it forced us to go international with our business. And on the philanthropy side, I think I look back, my father was, president of the Children's Aid Society, president of the YMCA here in Niagara Falls, and I saw he was giving back in his own way with his time.
Yes.
So I was working really hard and wasn't giving back as much directly in that. So, we're giving back by creating a lot of employment. We obviously, we believe, and unfortunately today is probably not a good day to talk about it, but we did help Russia become more of a capitalist society, and obviously they've gone the wrong way now. But I didn't say that, Vladimir.
Exactly.
I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to glow. I don't want to glow. But so no, I think that on the philanthropy side, so I saw my dad giving away in his own way on his time. So I said, well, I can give away some. And we do give away a lot of time, but we also give away our money. So we tried to, and we wanted to focus it. We started actually with, my philosophy was, what's the biggest problem in the world? And we said the biggest problem in the world is maternal mortality in Liberia, West Africa. So we went there and worked on that, and that was a tough thing. And we later learned, and as we transitioned out of that, we learned that the philanthropy should be done as the problem times the chance of success times the cost per success.
Sure.
That's the end result. That's our formula. So that's when we got associated with universities. We saw that universities can give money away. We can give money to them and they won't steal it. There's no issues of corruption, that we can direct the monies in that way. And we saw that, teaching someone how to fish. So, instead of giving them some fish. So, there's these scholarships, our leadership scholarships. And we have with the McCall MacBain Scholars at McGill, we gave, $200 million. And the idea there is to really, look around, find the good students, and then bring them in and interview them. The problem is if you and I and Lou and I and yourself, Dan, went to 2 rooms and we got the same 20 students room, we gave you the criteria, choose 4, probably be overlap of 3 and we'd maybe 1 different. We'd choose the same people. The problem was the right people weren't in the room. So one of the things of scholarships we've learned in trying to make freedom of opportunity is, talent's everywhere, but opportunity's not. So we've worked hard. We visited 50 universities in Canada, tell them about this program. We have a link in each university. Somebody's encouraging students, professors, to the kids are too shy to apply.
Absolutely.
So we do that, and we do that now in 70 other universities around the world. So, this year we had, in Ghana, we've had programs there. They had 300 people would be in the information session, and you had to fill in an application to get into the information session. It was so popular. Yeah. And we've had 2 scholars. We have two scholars from Ghana win. Wow. This year we had a scholar from Ulaanbaatar, which is in, obviously, as you know, Mongolia. Wow. I don't know if we'll ever get another scholar from Mongolia. We did. So we've had students from around the world. We had Mongolia, we've had Egypt, Morocco, Nigeria, China, India, Mexico. So scholars from around the world. And, it's great to bring them and that chance and the opportunity to them who would never have had that opportunity. So it's these people, it's an opportunity I had, remember. So I look back and say, well, why you asked me the question earlier, why I am where I am, and what I forgot to mention is education and the chance to be able to afford that education. I went to McGill because the city of Niagara Falls fired me. Thank you very much. And I went to Oxford because Cecil Rhodes basically died with no family and gave his money to that will. Yeah. And I went to Harvard Business School. I'd actually applied for the Frank Knox, which was a famous scholarship at Harvard. I applied for that, and I learned one of my things. I applied for that from McGill because I thought I was going to go to the Harvard Business School as planned. But when I won the Rhodes Scholarship, I phoned them up and said, look, I'm dropping out. I'm not going to apply. What I should have done is won the scholarship and deferred it, right?
Yeah.
So 2 years later, when I, of course, flied the Frank Knox as a Rhodes Scholar, this is great, I'm going to win this, refused first round. So then I had to, so I ended up, one of the things is, we talked about luck earlier. It's the harder I work, the more lucky I get. I had to apply to 35 other scholarships. I lost 34. But the 35th one I won, which is a Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation scholarship.
Two opportunities there is, failure turned into resilience, right? Failure, say getting fired from the city of Niagara Falls was a failure point in your life, obviously, but that made you more resilient to say.
You never know when you had a good day. That turned out to be a really good day.
Well, that's exactly right. And then again,
the failure you see in a time frame, it's A, as you said, the resilience you have, B, how you react to it, but it's also, you don't know what's going to happen in life. That failure led to something else. The failure led me to say, hey, maybe you shouldn't be an employee. You should have your own thing.
Well, this is exactly.
The other story is that when I was working at Power Corporation and I went to my boss and I said, look, I'd like 2 weeks off to look at this company. He said, have your resignation on my desk at 5 p.m.
Wow.
And at that time, my wife at the time was pregnant with our first child, 7 months. That was a bit of that motivated me. You thought it was bad. He said, you have to resign, but it was very good because a lot of pressure. The 14 days is really important.
Well, I think it's, and that's what entrepreneurs need to realize is using that failure as a prompt for motivation, as a catalyst for motivation to do better. Because,
and to redirect where you're going. Maybe you're not going the right way.
Exactly. And some people perhaps believe in fate, but like you said, is that just hard work. Just keep working. And
if you try something 100 times, eventually it'll be hits.
Yeah.
Well, not for sure, but pretty good. So when I applied those scholarships, if there's a 2% chance, well, if I apply 35 times, there's probably a chance, 50% chance I'll get it.
100%.
So any, habits that you, obviously, staying successful, staying energetic, any daily habits that you kind of go through that kind of get yourself motivated or get yourself, ready to be, John Macbain? Some people, like I said, some people say, I wake up and I meditate, and that's kind of what gets me started through the day. But is there anything on a daily routine that you do?
Yeah, I wake up immediately on. So the second I wake, I'm like
same time every day?
No, all over.
Okay.
Different time zones.
Some people are like 6 a.m. I'm up.
No. I rise early, but no. So I'm instant on. So I think so. I don't actually have because my life is so varied. I'm traveling a lot, different time zones. I don't have a regular schedule. I was trying to do a lot of exercise, but it's sort of a bit on an irregular schedule. No, I think what I try to, I guess I always I'm very optimistic, so I always try to wake up with a positive view of things, and that's important. I think I always want to go back to the 5-letter word that starts with an F, not a 4-letter word, called focus, right? So I want to, what are we trying to accomplish today? Yeah. And I try to look at that, and then, I think that focus and family are sort of the big things for me. So
the 2 F's in life.
That's right.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Thank you.
Now you've been here at the Niagara Falls Innovation Hub. Today you came and witnessed it too. So at the time when you were growing your business, how do you think a place like this could help, expedite, be a catalyst for your business?
Yeah, I think what it might have done, I'm speculating, but I think that it might have given me more incentive to sort of go out on your own, and the risk is lower, right? Because you have an office, you have support. I didn't have that, right? So, and I never really had a mentor either, which I think that would have been a nice thing to have. And we try to give that in our scholarship mentors. So that would have been nice, I think. When I was at Power Corporation, I did start the Youth Enterprise Center, which actually there was a youth minister called Jean Charest, and he was the youth minister at times. I got to know him, and we started this Youth Enterprise Center. So I could see the benefit of that, but I never really I never took advantage of that. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm also, I think it's important that your innovation center, innovation in many ways, not just, starting your business from zero, et cetera.
Educating.
I think that if you can find a business that isn't doing well and the bank wants to get rid of it, buy it, but change it.
Yes, so exactly. Well, it's Thomas Edison famous quote is, somebody's already done it, do it better. Right? So, exactly. And that's the philosophy that we have.
Or somebody's already done it, do it right.
Or do it right. Yeah, exactly. Do it better. Right? And that's what it is that, it used to be a famous quote that, necessity is the mother of all innovation, but now it's almost, efficiency is and taking something that has been there, but just making it better or doing it right, like you said, too. So, well, we really appreciate you coming. I know we're reaching our time. Emma, I know I've been doing a lot of talking.
No,
so.
It's just really inspiring to hear you talk about, and that you've always stayed like in Niagara. You always come back, and I wanted to know even just like what your vision is, even with like some of the youth here, and like you do a lot of, even you give scholarships at Meyer as well, too. Right?
We do. We actually give scholarship. We have a McBain Niagara Falls scholarship. It's available to all the high schools in Niagara Falls. So Meyer and actually all the high schools in Niagara Falls are eligible. We try to do, I think we do 8 or 10, 12 a year.
And where can the students learn about? Is it all on the foundation's website, or
no, their high school? Their high school knows about it.
Just go to their high school.
Every high school in Niagara Falls knows about it, and when they're graduating grade 12, they have to apply in advance, obviously, but that's good. And we try to we have interviews for that. I don't do the interviews. I didn't want to. There's a conflict probably there.
That'll probably intimidate the student. You could just pretend to be the interviewer.
Is my locker still there?
No, we still try to. My wife and I, actually my wife did hers last week, I think, try to talk to the students before the interviews, and we usually talk to them. And, I guess it's just that if I look back on my life, it's to say to students in Niagara Falls, look, you can do it too, right? So anybody can do it. If a guy from Orchard Park, Niagara Falls can, starting with nothing can do it, you can do it as well. So I think that's an important message. And that goes through education, right? So education is really important. I had the chance to, and scholarships, right? If it wasn't for scholarships, and the city of Niagara Falls firing me. I got a small scholarship.
But again, and that's what I want to bring it down to. Oftentimes, this podcast gets seen by people not just in Niagara Falls but outside Niagara Falls, and
like in St. Catharines.
Thorold sometimes.
Thorold,
if we're lucky.
Well,
Well, don't go too crazy. No. But one of the things you're always coming back to Niagara Falls. You're always coming back to Niagara Falls. Always coming back to Niagara. Do you own a residence here or
no?
So perfect. So that goes to my point. Why Niagara Falls? Why always coming back to Niagara? Why always coming back to Niagara? What?
My parents passed away now, so they're not here anymore. I come back for lots of reasons, to see a lot of high school friends. We have our reunions and.
But why? Why is it Niagara Falls a great place to grow or business or to start a franchise?
I took my bike here, and I was riding a bike yesterday and rode down to Niagara Lake and back, and just looking. I mean, it's so beautiful. I just, I was going along the lake there.
You've been all over the world, and the fact that you say it's beautiful.
Niagara Falls is really beautiful. And, and at our one of our high school reunions, we had it at one of the wineries, and just beautiful views of that. I think it's a very unique place. I think that I was in China once, and somebody asked me where you're from. I said, I'm from the most famous small town in the world. And the person said, you're from Niagara Falls? Yeah. And I said, I love you.
Nice.
So I think it's a nice place to be from, because, it's a name brand tourism place, but it's a great wonder of the world. And I think in Niagara Falls, we want to make sure we're protecting that golden goose, which is our natural environment around the falls. I think is really important. want to be part of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you, John. Thank you for joining us today and sharing your wisdom. And is there any last tips we want to share with our listeners? Any last wisdom?
I know. The funny one there is be right or be married.
Yeah, that's one of them.
And I can certainly attest to that.
I just got married in August, John. So
so you probably
I won't.
You have to teach your husband this.
Yeah, exactly. You're the one. Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell him when I get home.
Yeah, it would be it's one is, we talked a little bit about focus, and one of the things I said was just because you're good at one thing doesn't mean you're good at everything. You may only be good at one thing. So
but it's true.
That's sort of,
And a lot of entrepreneurs think that they can
now I've done, I can do anything, right?
Yeah, well, that's exactly.
You're only good at this. And I think trying to be as focused as you can. We'd rather be focused in international. So we're looking at business like gondolas, for example. We talked about our gondola business in Rio de Janeiro. I like that business, so let's put it global. Let's do that everywhere. So that's one of our
And are you expanding that globally?
We are expanding globally.
Oh, wow. Okay. So. Well, maybe we get one in Niagara Falls.
You never know.
No days off for John.
From
never know.
U.S. to back. Recreate the Spanish arrow card.
Cool.
So, that's what I said. Think about your business area internationally. Don't diversify, just focus everywhere and focus.
That's perfect. Can you share any last minute, anything you want to share with our listeners? Anything going on right now?
You want to add?
Well, actually, I'd hate to admit it, but today's my wife's birthday.
Oh, gosh.
She's in Geneva, Switzerland, and I'm here in Niagara Falls, Canada, to be with you.
Well, now we're flattered. Holy
We had some pressing business in the company, in the foundation, and I talked to my wife about 2 weeks before. I said, look, I've got this thing. And she said, look, you can't. I was in Europe. I was in North America before. You can't fly back. And it just wouldn't work too tight. So she said, look, no problem, but I better get a nice gift.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And you delivered?
And I delivered a nice gift. When I saw her a week ago, I gave her the nice gift. But I did call her today.
And you're going back soon?
So I'm heading back on tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow evening I'm heading back. Actually meeting her in London. And my daughter is my number third child. My daughter's opening a restaurant in London.
Oh, wow.
Opening's tomorrow night.
So many celebrations.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure you'll have some belated celebrations at the restaurant.
What type of food?
So she's a French brasserie.
Oh, wow.
Called Julie's. In,
Amazing.
Notting Hill. It's quite a well-known place.
Nottingham Forest.
Do they have an Instagram account you want to plug?
No. Just look up Julie's, right?
Julie's in Nottingham.
Beautiful.
Notting Hill, yeah.
Perfect.
London.
That's great.
Excellent.
Thanks.
So what we'll do is we'll attach a PDF of this to our link on our YouTube channel so people can actually see this and resonate with it. And then that's 65. Is there 70 coming up in the next 5 years?
I hope so.
Yeah.
If it doesn't come up, I won't be around. Right?
That's maybe one day we'll get our top 100 from you. As long as you keep your exercise and the healthy, I'm sure you're there too. So I want to thank you for coming down to Niagara Falls Innovation Hub here at the Moneyman Podcast Studio and really to share your story. I think a lot of people are going to listen to this podcast and watch it and be like, wow, a lot of what John was talking about just makes sense. And
hopefully make dollars.
Well, that's exactly it.
That comes
focus
next.
And then focus and hard work make those dollars, right? And as long as you keep focusing, as long as you keep working hard,
I'm still working really hard.
Well, this is exactly. I mean, even just to try to get you here was a lot of hard work for our colleague here.
And Lou did a good job
in the background there too. And we hope that this isn't the first time. Every time you do make a trip to Niagara, we'll stop by the Innovation Hub and come check out all the crazy stuff that's going on here. I know that a lot of the companies will benefit from learning your story. And learning your successes and all your tips and tricks. So I want to thank you. And Emma, where can our listeners find the podcast?
Yeah, so this is the Made in This podcast. It's by the Niagara Falls Innovation Hub. We're on Apple Podcasts. We have our YouTube channel, the Niagara Falls Innovation Hub, and we're also on Spotify, of course.
And next, join us for our next podcast where we have Del from Arterra Wines, Del Rollo, sharing us a story of how he grew Arterra Wines to be the most successful wine company here in Canada. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, John, once again.
Thank you.
And we appreciate you coming. And I'm going to be listening to this podcast and we'll be just learning all the great stuff he said.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you.